Whenever you do a lot of work to a vehicle all at once, you kind of enter this shakedown period where you got to drive it and see what breaks and what's working and what's not and what mistakes you made. Well, that's what we're doing now with this. And I haven't gone far, but there's some things we need to look at, so let's get into that. Well, we haven't changed the oil on this thing yet. Let's take care of that and get that off our punch list. Alright, oil's changed. I checked the transmission fluid. It's maybe, quarter, half an inch low. That's fine for now. It needs GL4 spec oil because GL5 spec oil can sometimes be rough on brass and brass alloys. So brass and copper alloys, which the synchronizers are brass-ish. Some kind of brass composite. Anywho, we're going to take this and we're going to do the cooling system flush now that the oil's changed and see if we have any water and oil mixing at any point. So I already flushed this cooling system once. I just took the radiator cap off to check it. And I don't know. It's got some fruity bubbles in there, and one of the bubbles had like an oil sheen on it. I mean, I was planning on replacing the engine in this truck, but I wasn't planning on replacing it yet. I was hoping to use it for a little bit. At the very, very least, shake out everything else besides the engine. I had put a pressure tester on here before when I was testing the hose, and after I replaced the hose, it was blown, I think, in the drive home. I mean, the pressure tested okay. I don't know if this is left over. I'm gonna do a very, very, very thorough flush, I think, and try it again. Maybe there's leftover gunk in there. I'm not sure. So I've got it running. We got the hose, putting new water in, and I got the radiator petcock opened to let water out. And we're just gonna let it keep cycling here for a bit. So this is water, just spigot water without the engine running, coming out of the radiator. But with the engine running, it's a little darker. I don't know what to think. I don't know. Should be flushed by now. I've been doing this a while. I should have circulated all of the old water out of the engine at least once. I don't know. I'm gonna let this just sit and flow for a while, and then I'll start it up and take another sample and see what it's like. I have flushed and flushed it, but I'm still getting dirty stuff in there. Also, I've noticed when this is running and the thermostat's open, even if the thermostat's not open, there's always water circulating this way through this hose, around through the heater core, and then back to the radiator. So you should see water coming out of that hose all the time. And I see an intermittent little kind of trickle every once in a while. It's definitely not a steady flow, and it's definitely not powerful or moving a lot of water. And there's definitely water in the hose, it's just not, it's not circulating. Also, when the thermostat is open, you should get a decent amount of flow through here and across the top of the radiator, and you should see water moving. Sometimes it's hard to see, but you should see at least a little water moving, because there's constantly water moving into the radiator here and then out the bottom of the radiator. And the third thing is the system should build up pressure, and this hose should be hard, and it's not. Also, I can take the cap off right after it's running and there's no pressure buildup or pressure release, so the system is not making pressure. Now I know the system is sealed, because, well, here's one. When I squeeze this hose, you can, you know, so it's not a massive leak anywhere. Also, it's holding water, and I have also pressure tested the system with a pressure tester like I did before, and I know that it's sealed. There's no leaks or anything. So all of these symptoms lead me to believe that our water pump, for whatever reason, is not pumping water. So we need to take that off and look at that. As much as I hate to tear this down and empty the cooling system again, I kind of have to. Now, interestingly, it's not overheating. I have checked with a temperature gun and everything else, so I don't know if we're just getting enough convection flow. Some older engines actually didn't even have a water pump. They would go by convection, that hot water rises, and it would rise up to the top of the radiator and then fall down and cool as it goes down through the radiator, and then go up into the engine again as it heats up. But obviously this doesn't do that. But even, you know, unless you have a blockage in your system, you could still get convection flow to a certain degree. I know the thermostat is working, and, you know, not only because it cools, but I know it's open because I've tested that various ways. Also, it's a new thermostat, and so I think there's something wrong with the water pump. It'll be interesting, because I think sometimes the impellers can go bad. I've never had an impeller like disintegrate to the point that it wouldn't pump water, but I don't know, we might be at that. Anyway, this has all got to come off, and let's take a look. I won't bore you with that, so I'm going to put you on time lapse and we'll just rip into this. Water pump is off. Quick surface assessment. I scraped gaskets and stuff, and I also stuck my shop vac in there, and I checked for suction, you know, across there. So both those ports are flowing. I pulled the back of the water pump off, and the rotor is there, and it's, you know, it's in pumping shape, and, you know, everything looks good in there. There's no clogs or anything. The bypass port is open. I don't know. Also, initial assessment, I believe this water pump has been off fairly recently, either to be replaced or something, because A, it's fairly clean, it's not oily like the rest of the front of the engine. Number two, it came off really easy. This, I cleaned up the timing plate indicator, and obviously there's a big gap between the harmonic balancer and the indicator, which means one of these is not right. So I mean, it should still align, but you know, there's different engines too. There's later ones that, you know, are at the different position. But anyway, this does not match that. That's fine, unless you're going to try to set the timing with a gun. It makes it a little bit more difficult. And I scraped off the block ID pad, and it has MA30353. So this is a remanufactured engine, so it is indeed a Goodwrench 350. There's no VIN or anything stamped in there, so it's not the original block. So they didn't just swap valve covers or anything. So this is probably bought as a long block assembly, all ready to drop in, except for the intake manifold, and probably the timing cover and everything was on, and then they put the harmonic balancer on from the old engine, or the other way around. You know how that goes. I'm going to take the thermostat off again. I already had that off. I'm going to take that off again and do some exploration down in there. I'm not sure. One thing you have to watch out for is there's reverse rotation water pumps for marine engines and some different oddball vehicles, but specifically marine engines. But you got to watch out for the reverse rotation pumps and don't get them accidentally. I don't know. I'm going to keep digging into this and see if I can find anything else here. Well, there you can see the thermostat opened. So, I mean, that was successful. So we know the thermostat is good. While I have this apart, I just want to double and triple check everything. Alright, we'll just take a probe there. Yep. And in. That's how far she went in, which is well past that gasket. And I'm sure this one over here is good too, but yeah, so I mean, at the very least, we should have water coming up through here. And like I said, I don't think it's plugged anyway, but we can verify that by running water down through. I can get my hose over here and we can test that. All right, I'll continue looking at this and see if I see anything. Well, the cap has closed again. Now, I highly recommend these reusable thermostat gaskets. It's an aluminum frame with rubber inserts, and you can reuse this multiple times to change your thermostat, or if you're testing thermostats, or if you're going to know you're going to take it off in the near future, or they're only like $10 or something like that. It's not horrifically expensive if you know it's probably going to be coming off again. And quite frankly, I don't know what's going to be happening with this truck, so I'm just going to put this on. I generally just use these anyway if I have them. I have flushed this system thoroughly now, and then I've even vacked it out so that there's no water sitting near the screw holes when I put it back together. I don't know. I didn't find anything. I'm going to put a known good used pump on it that came off of another vehicle. I know that pump is good, and I know what the flow of that pump looks like. I'm not sure. We're just going to put it back together and see what happens, I guess. And it's back together. I probably wasted my time, I don't know, but I do know everything that I can check in the cooling system is good. Well, I've never had this happen before. It's working now with the other used pump. So we are pressurizing the system. This is firm and hot, not unlike it was before. And when I look down in here, I'm not going to take the cap off because I don't want to get scalded. But when I look down in here, I can see coolant flowing through the heater loop and coming out into the radiator, which means we've got flow now. That was just like a tiny dribble before. I can also see coolant moving kind of, you know, across the top of the radiator before I put the cap on. Just take my word for it. But I don't know. I have no idea what I did. It could have been just, I don't know, a clog in the block or something that I blew out with the hose, but I don't think it was. It could have been this water pump, but I don't think it was, because I mean everything, the veins here are intact, and I don't know. I'm very unsure. Anyway, she's working now. I don't know. I also corrected the loose power steering belt. I don't know if I told you about that, but I couldn't get it tightened right before. When I had that all apart, there was a little bit of adjustment on that bracket. The bracket was kind of just tilted a little bit. I don't know, the last person had it not quite right, so I fixed that. And now we don't have any power steering belt squeak. The temperature gauge does come up a little bit, but there's a 160 degree thermostat in there, so that's a little bit to be expected. Oil pressure is good, although it's ticking around there unevenly, but if you goose it, it does spin up a little bit more. All the gauges are working. So I don't know. Cooling system appears to be cooling now. You can also see when I press this, the heater hose moves. That's a sign that the thermostat is open and everything, and it's, you know, it's warm, and I don't know. At any rate, it's flowing coolant now, so whatever I did, whether it was the flush or changing the water pump, one of those things did it. Okay, I'll take it. That's a win. It is time to change the transmission gear oil. I don't know if this is the correct weight, but it's close enough for me, and it is a GL4 spec. I think I mentioned it before that there's a rumor that the GL5 spec will ruin yellow metals, brass, bronze, tin, copper, alloys, and that's what the synchronizers in the SM465 are made out of, so I would rather have not have them disintegrate. So I'm going to use this APL4 spec, or API GL4 spec. I don't know for certain. I've never tested it, if that works or not, if that will save the synchronizers, but you know, I had to special order it. It's hard to find a dedicated GL4 spec anymore, but that's what we're using. Better safe than sorry, so we're going to put this in. Well, the SM465 took about 4.5 quarts, so the internet was almost spot on. The fluid didn't really need to be changed once I got it out, but I mean, there's really no good way to know for sure until you drain the bottom out, see if there's anything floating in there, or see if there's any water on the bottom, or I mean, the fluid was really good. I feel like someone maybe actually took care of the drivetrain on this thing, if not the body, so I don't know. That's done anyway for peace of mind, so I'm probably good for another 10 years. 10 years of my driving. I'm going to address this tailgate, and part of that is taking this plate off. As much as I just want to leave it on there and pretend I don't know what's underneath, I need to know what's underneath. I think I need to do some welding on probably that end, because it's a little, you know, once you get it up into position, it's a little wobbly. Something's not right there. Probably the pin bracket, either the bracket or the receptacle on the tailgate's bad. Gonna have to fix that, but if you ever need to get to your tailgate latch, you got to take this plate off, so don't do that. Anyway, I'm gonna take this plate off. All right, time to see what's behind door number 1. What is this screw I missed? Wow, it's shockingly good. Oh, that's surprising. All right. I'm gonna rinse the junk off of that. So basically over there's a cup inside the tailgate, and it's shaped like a C, and it has a gap, and that gap has to align with the pin so you can pull the tailgate up and off the pin, but the C is facing this way. I need to spin it around. The bolts have come off. Well, this was our problem. This came off and it was rotated like this. So when you went to pull the tailgate up off of this, you know, it can't. The slots have to be aligned. Obviously, if you've ever taken one of these tailgates off before, so that when you put the tailgate at a 45-degree angle, it just slides off of there. I gotta fix that. And for now, I'll put the tailgate back on. I mean, it's surprisingly structurally sound, so even with all the holes, so we will go with that. So we try to Bondo the tailgate, I guess. Yeah, there's more Bondo in there. They just filled the whole tailgate with Bondo. Well, that's one way to do it. All right, got the cup welded back on. So even though our tailgate is very holy, it will hopefully, you know, actually fold up and down and hold a little bit of weight. So that's all I need out of this tailgate for now. Is surprisingly solid. Well, let's get something I haven't had for a work truck in 5 years, and that is a spare tire. We had this tire in the back of the truck when we got it, and we had this wheel in the back of the truck when we got it. That's a 16.5, and well, I think this is a 16.5. We're gonna find out. This might be over pretty quick if it's not. Well, my attempts to put air in this thing rapidly failed. I do have a new valve core in it, but it's leaking around the bead on both sides. So I guess it's time to break out the bead sealer. Much as I hate to, I mean, this is just going to be a spare, so, you know. All right, let's do that. any rate, this will be a good spare for us. All it has to do is get you home, so that'll work for now. When I was filling this up, I noticed a drip when I had the pump running on high, and then I remembered that I had noted a pinhole before I put this all back together again, and I forgot to patch it. So for that, I'm going to use this JB Weld tank weld stuff. It seems to work pretty good for fuel resistant. I'm going to crawl down under there with my flashlight and see if I can find the pinhole. It's right in the metal fill pipe up here that joins the fill cap, so kind of hard for you guys to see, and I won't film that, but I'll let you know if it fails, you know. So I stand corrected. When I did this back seat, I said it was ridiculous to put those sliders in and I would never use them. Well, I've used them, because with the seat all the way back against this cab, I can't fit some of my toolboxes back here behind the seat, so I slid it forward a little bit and now they fit just fine. Otherwise the seat would have been, you know, like this, and anyone who sits here is going to be ramming back against the toolboxes, hurting the back of the seat. So well, there, it did come in useful. So where are we at on our shakedown here? I've been keeping notes because I'm very forgetful on these things. The tank weld I used on the spout of the gas fill there is holding up, so we're good. It's not leaking anymore when I fill it. We just took this thing on like a 6-hour drive, 3 hours one way, and I'm going to check the fluids and things and see where we're at. I think we're leaking a little bit from the valve cover still. I might have to replace those gaskets. It's just, you know, just that old burning oil smell after a while gets to you. The second gear synchronizer is still, it's not terrible, but it's not great either. Sometimes, especially when it's cold, it'll grind, and I had one situation where I could not get it into gear. I almost practically came to a stop, and I was double, triple, quadruple clutching, and it just would not synchronize gear speeds. So I don't know if that was actually the synchro or something else, but it only happens once in a while, so we're, you know, for now it's just gonna have to be the noise at highway speed. Well, I mean, it's always been bad in these trucks, and I expected it would be, because I didn't replace any of the window seals or the door. I replaced the door seals, not the window seals. But it's not really air noise, it's like road noise, and these are old tires, and, you know, it's truck tread, so it's never going to be terrifically quiet. The exhaust leak, I have to drop the whole exhaust to fix that properly. I kind of welded the side, but I couldn't get around the top of the pipe without dropping it, so I'm going to have to drop that pipe and fix the exhaust leak. I will probably also put another muffler on to help reduce noise at highway speed, because the engine, because of the gearing, you know, your transmission is 1-to-1 and the rear is like, you know, 410, 411. And so at highway speed, you're running pretty high RPM, you know, you're running like 3,000 RPM. So we need to quiet down the engine as much as possible, because, you know, I'm getting old or something, and I don't like that drone in my ears. But yeah, other than that, she's doing good. So after our long drive, I've been checking the oil on short drives and stuff, but after that long drive, let's see how we did. Oil's good. I don't think we're burning much either, because I had accidentally overfilled it a little bit, and I kind of left it overfilled thinking, well, we're going to lose some through the valve covers and probably burn a little bit, but, well, we didn't. I don't know about that. Check the coolant. We're full right up to the top, and it's green. So all my flushing, let me show you here. You see that on camera. All my flushing must have done a good job, and the cap is relatively clean, so Excellent. Well, I'm happy with that. That was like 6 hours of driving with no checking any fluids or anything, or just worrying about it. So wow, yeah, I mean, that's great for a daily driver. I also added a jack and tire iron package here. That's not a square body jack, Jeep Cherokee jack or something, but you know, it's mostly there for emergencies, because this is a work truck, so I carry a jack in the back with me. So yeah, we're doing good there. Oh, fuel tanks, my manual switch and everything, I switched back and forth between tanks on the go a couple times, and it does that flawlessly. I mean, you can switch over tanks at full speed or idle or whatever, and you'll never know the difference. You'll never notice. So that's working great. I did lose the sender on the original passenger side tank, I think. It's intermittent or something, because I hit the switch and it just pegs. It was working for a long time, but now it pegs the needle, so I'll have to look at that sender. So I guess that's it for the shakedown for this truck. There's a few little things that I detailed that, you know, I'm gonna have to fix, but they aren't strictly necessary to run the truck. So this is gonna become our daily driver work rig here on the channel. So you're probably gonna see it in the background of a lot of videos and stuff. And stuff breaks, I'll let you know, if anybody cares. You do something like this and you just never know what you're going to find before you turn it into a daily driver, and what's going to break and stuff. So that's why I always like to do kind of an extended shakedown, and before I actually dedicate to driving it all the time. And you know, if something's going to break, I want it to break, you know, not when I'm on a critical drive or critical job or something. So I think and I hope that that's out of the way, and this is going to be reliable now. So anyway, there might be a couple more videos on this, just quick overviews on the channel, or if something breaks, but I am going to detail what I'm going to do to haul tools in this thing, because I had my utility body on the other truck to carry my tools, and that worked great. Obviously we decided we couldn't move the utility body over here, or well, it just wasn't worthwhile. So we're going to come up with the tool solution and detail for that, how we're going to use this thing as a practical work rig on a daily basis. So that video will be coming if you're interested. If you haul a lot of tools on a daily basis, it might interest you. If not, I don't know. But anyway, there she is. Thank you for sticking with us for this long, if you reached this point, and I do appreciate all the likes, comments, subscribes, and I really appreciate the feedback on the channel and any comments that people leave me. I really do appreciate hearing from people, and it gives me the motivation to shoot these videos. It's not easy to shoot a video and pick up a camera and do a lot of work, so I admire anyone who can do that. And I think, you know, everyone who wants to should do it, but I appreciate anybody who's stuck with us and watched the channel and subscribed and commented and liked our videos. And as always, thanks for watching.